Hey, Sue, do you know if Kyler's going to be joining us?
We do not know.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Okay.
Right, you are live now, Mr. Cappers. I see several who want to come in, and looks like Ryan Leach, so it's probably Kyler using Ryan's iPad.
That's fine. Okay. Ryan, how you doing? Ryan?
He doesn't have his, he's still,
Okay, let's call the meeting to order while he tries to come in. Abby, please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers,
Hey, I'm here.
We can barely hear you.
Mr. Emmerich,
Here.
Mrs. Westfall.
Here.
Okay, Abby, you said you could barely hear me?
We're fine.
You're okay? All right, good. We have the minutes for our March 3rd meeting. Do we have any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to
No.
accept those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? They stand approved. Mr. Drake, how goes it in the park department?
Good, good. We've been actually back for several weeks now, full swing into grounds maintenance operations. Was healthy. Everyone's had good attitudes and done a really nice job. Had our first staff meeting with all the department staff yesterday morning. Went well. We've laid out a plan to kind of offset the couple seasonals that we're not going to be able to bring back this year. Seems like it's going to be a workable plan, and everybody's just really stepped up nicely and doing a good job. So things are moving along well.
Okay. Did you have any backlash from anybody concerning the time that was taken off?
No, actually, I think everybody was in a really good spot. Thankful for the way things were worked out. So it was actually really positively received.
Okay, good. Susan, do you have questions? Jordan, do you have any questions for our park superintendent?
No.
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Tyler, how's everything at Hobart Arena?
It's a little quiet here at the moment. Haven't had a lot of events lately, at least on that end of things. So our next event looks as though it will likely be the Troy High School graduation has submitted a plan to the health commissioner for approval. So that's potentially going to be the next event that we will have. It would obviously be significantly modified from the typical version that we're accustomed to, with a very minimal number of people in the building at any given time. So I've got some meetings coming up with them to try to go through those details. And then following that, we're at a point where we're trying to determine what we'll be doing related to summer ice with the extension of the stay-at-home order till the end of May. Related to our recreational programs, we've delayed all registrations until May 18th to try to buy some time till we kind of get a better idea of where things are headed with the social distancing and gathering limitation numbers. We've also canceled shelter reservations at this point through this Sunday, May 10th, and we're kind of doing that on a week-by-week basis. We were able to start some service at the shoreline over at Miami Shores a couple weeks back. Initially, when they closed restaurants, they had indicated that we were not going to be permitted to allow any sales there because of the fact that the golf course in our scenario would be classified as part of our premises. But they had since changed their feelings on that. And so we were able to start serving on April the 22nd there from the shoreline. So people were able to get food and drink to carry out and take out onto the course. And we are kind of in a holding pattern right now. At this point, we have delayed the opening of the aquatic park until we get a little bit further direction from the state on what may or may not be permitted. So we'll see how that continues to evolve and see whether we may be able to open at some point in June.
Are you taking applications for lifeguard positions and things like that, though?
Well, we have a full staff that's ready to work. We're just
Yeah.
hopeful that we can provide some work for them.
The danger in this economy is that if they don't find a job, they won't come back to you because they'll go someplace else. It's always the danger, I guess.
That's a possibility, and the challenge that we're going to start to face more and more is that we get closer to the season. We may potentially lose some of those folks that
Yeah.
are relying on summer income.
Yeah. Okay. Anything
I
else,
think that's
Mr.
all I have.
Seiler? Okay, any questions for Mr. Seiler?
None here.
Okay, Mr. Leach, are you subbing in for Mr. Boer? Mr. Leach, you're on mute yet. Ryan,
No.
what's that no to an answer to?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Do you have
No.
a report from Mr. Boer?
No, I just joined in to listen. I didn't know that he wasn't going to be on today, but
You know, is it the chorus?
if you want something off the cuff, no, nothing new. We've just been doing what we've always been doing, and we had ended up renting 12 gas carts to meet the demand for, the play that we've been having, because we've had to limit, one person per cart. But other than that, not a whole lot's changed on the ground side.
Okay. Any problem with the upkeep? We don't have the problems with the fungus on the fairways this year?
No, if you went out there today, you wouldn't even know it was ever there.
Okay, good.
So,
All right.
Yep,
Thank you for
that's where we're at.
Any questions? Any questions of Mr. Leach? Okay.
No.
Well, I don't have any planning commission report. I don't think we have any old business. New business, provide a recommendation to council regarding a request by CSX to grant an easement at Wako Park. And it talks about this three-phase service to ConAgra. It's a easement to DP&L, as I saw in the notes. Who's going to take that report? What staff member is going to lead us in on that?
We received the basic information from DPNL on behalf to ask the park board to grant the
Sue,
easement.
you
And
just faded out on my
I
computer.
am so,
Yeah, you keep moving, so.
okay,
there you go.
sorry. This came in from, on behalf of ConAgra. This, as you said, it is related to a feed that has to go through, this barely touches Wako Park. But Mr. Kerber determined that the park board would have to make a recommendation to council about granting the easement. And it was reviewed by engineering staff who had no issues.
Okay, the easement itself is what, on the south side of Wako Park, and it's a 10-foot easement? If I
As
recall.
shown on the map.
Yeah, I'm getting back to it now. I'm trying to look at it. I just want to make sure it doesn't cut right through it.
No,
Mr. Titterington, Sue, Wako Park was listed as surplus property a number of months ago. Have you been able to take a look at where that might be in the scheme of things?
Yes, we are, that will be going to council committee next Monday for a recommendation to council, so we can get that process done as quickly as possible.
Okay. The property directly to the south, who owns that property? Do you have any idea? It's not shown on the vacation map.
I do not know.
Not ours, is it?
My understanding is the only thing that is owned by the city/park board are the two in lots 9335, 9334. They've been given new parcel numbers, but those are the two parcels.
Okay.
That's
So
correct.
this is actually going to be a 15-foot easement because the line's going to go 5 foot away from the boundary line. It's a 10-foot wide, 10-foot wide electric. I'm going to rephrase this. It's a 10-foot wide easement, excuse me. I don't have any problem with it. Susan, Jordan, do you have any comments?
No, I'm
No.
looking at the easement lines too. I got no issues at all.
I don't either.
Okay. Do one of you want to make a motion to go ahead and recommend to council the approval of the easement?
I can recommend to council the approval of the easement for the Wako Park area.
Okay,
And I can second that.
okay. There's been a motion, a second, to recommend to council the approval of the CSX grant of easement at the Wako Park site. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Abby, would you take the roll?
I don't know
Mr.
what.
Cappers,
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes,
Okay, that's adopted. Mr. Tennington, do you have anything else to come before the commission?
I do not. Thank you.
Sue, do you have anything else to come before the commission?
No, sir.
Okay. I would move that we go into executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and enter into executive session to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee.
I can second that.
Mr. Emmerich, second. Any discussion? Please call the roll, Abby.
Mr. Cappers,
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
yes.
Okay, we're going to go into executive session. Mr. Titterington gives us about a 30-second head start here, right?
Well, I will tell you when, and then the last thing I will do is mute our computer and shut my monitor off, leave the media room. I'm going to stop. Jordan, I'm unmuting you. Trying to unmute you. There you go. We're ready to go, Mr. Cappers.
Okay. Abby, you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Okay, just want to let you know that Mr. Capper made a motion. Mr. Emmerich seconded the motion, unanimously adopted to return to regular session.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Capper's made the motion, Mr. Emmerich seconded.
I second it.
Regular
Got
session.
it?
Session. That was unanimously adopted. Okay, now we turn to the last matter on the agenda, which is the list of questions submitted to us by the Park and Recreation Committee of Council. This has to do with the Archer Park encroachment and our request to declare some of that as surplus property and sold to members of the public if they wish. So the first question was regarding the basketball court, which we believe is encroaching upon the property. When these questions are directed to the Board of Park Commissioners, okay? So when was the court installed? I don't think we know the answer to that. Just for information purposes, we're not an investigatory body. We don't know some of the answers to these questions. And so my suggestion is that we just answer the question unknown. Susan, Jordan, do you have any input on that?
The only thing I know is the last time somebody spoke about it, they said has been 4 years. So it's at least 4 years old.
And that was the city council subcommittees. Mrs. Schaefer said that, right?
I believe so, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to number 2. Who built the structure? I don't have any personal information concerning who built the structure. Does anybody?
No.
No.
What I'll do is I'll prepare these responses and get them out to Mr. Schilling, who's chairman of the committee. And I'll type them up and send you guys a copy. And we'll say unknown as to number 2. Number 3, did the Board of Park Commissioners get permission in advance of building the structure? I don't remember a board of park commissioners meeting where we were requested to build a basketball court on that property. We would certainly looked at it. So I'd have to say the answer is no. And that may have been before your guys' time anyway.
It
Yeah.
was.
Okay. Number 4, how was the park property accessed by a concrete truck to place the concrete? And was permission granted, requested, documented? I don't know. I'd have to say unknown. The board's not been able to question the park employee that was possibly involved due to his request for union representation in that case. So I'm just going to say unknown. Anybody have any further information on that?
No.
Just guesses. Yeah. No.
Well, we're not being asked to guess. We're going to be asked what our knowledge is. So,
Yeah.
okay, going down to regarding the shed. If the city did not purchase the shed, who initially owned the shed? You guys hadn't been on the board. That shed's been there or was on park property on Archer Park for a long, long time, if it's the same shed. And I remember a park board meeting where the Troy Soccer Association parents contacted us because they wanted a shed on the property for the purpose of storing their balls and nets. And we granted them permission. It was not on a foundation, as I understand, so it still was property of the Troy Soccer Parents Association and not a park board property. It's the opposite of what's going on at Duke Park, where the Troy Football Association, the junior football, has their 2-story storage area, and that's on a permanent foundation. And they were told directly that, yeah, you can go ahead and create it, you can go ahead and pay for it, but it's ours. And they understood that. So I will just report that we believe it was the Troy Soccer Association that owned the property originally. Number 2, what year was it originally purchased or obtained? I don't remember. I don't know. It was decades ago. You guys speak up if you want to make any comment at all. Was it
I
located?
have no knowledge of this.
Go ahead. What, Susan?
I just said I have no knowledge of it, so I can't say anything.
Number 3, was it located on park property? I understand that the shed was located on park property one time because they asked us to erect it there. Then it says, if so, where, how was the location determined and authorized? My recollection is that a Troy Soccer Association representative came to the park board meeting and asked permission to place a shed on the property and to store the nets and equipment therein. But permission was given subject to the placement of the shed in a location coordinated by the park superintendent, which I believe must have been Tim Mercer at the time. It might have been Roscoe Supinger if it was that far back, but I think it was probably Tim Mercer. Number 4, did the board provide the city with any information regarding having the shed on city property and its disposition? Well, the only thing I can tell is I think there was a city representative at the park board meeting where permission was granted. And it's probably in the minutes, but I'm not going to go through 25 years of minutes to find it. If somebody wants to do that, they can. Number 5, who determined the shed was surplus and the process followed for the disposition of the shed and moving of the shed? Good morning. That's my grandson, I'm sorry. I don't know. There was a process. I just have to say unknown. The shed was not our property. Okay, so it wasn't up to us to say yay or nay. It was the Troy Soccer Parents Association. Number 6, when did the owner of 636 Shaftesbury take possession of the shed and how did that occur? And what is the documentation? I'd have to say once again, it's unknown. I don't know when possession was taken. I have no idea. If anybody else has a comment, let me know. Number 7, if it was moved from city property, who transported it? How was it transported? I don't think the park board has any idea as to who moved it or how. The next set of questions regard the process that was followed. It says, does the board utilize a standard process, set of criteria, or any guidelines when evaluating a request such as this? To the best of my knowledge, the board has nothing in writing, but reviews such as issues on this case on a case-by-case basis. The property is visited by the park board to determine the current use of the property and its future benefit, if any, to the park. Then the question continues, if not, should the board consider creating one or each request be considered on a case-by-case basis? That's what I just said, case-by-case basis.
Mhm.
Number two, was any investigation done by the board when this request was made, particularly as to the unusual circumstances, construction being completed well before the request to the board? In this case, the board followed the procedure set forth in that paragraph above. We were contacted by the property owner that she believes are encroachment. She fessed up to it. She's willing to pay for it. And we put this request for surplus property together. Let's see, paragraph 3. Did the board discuss any other remediation options before recommending the property as surplus? For instance, orders to remove and restore the land of green space, confiscation of the structures, etc. I think we did. The board determined that the property in question is of no future use of the park, that there was no benefit to having the encroachment removed, but that the property owner of the adjoining property should pay fair market value for the property and pay all costs associated with the transfer, including but not limited to the survey, advertising, and transfer costs. The owner agreed to do so if the owner is successful bidder. We had joked about evicting them, but it was merely a joke when we did our tour of the park and found the encroachment. And the only reason we found the encroachment is they fessed up about it. Are there any other structural encroachments onto the city or board-owned property? Well, we think that there might be some additional encroachments of different sizes and types on other park properties or city properties. And those encroachments cannot be ascertained without the aid of a licensed surveyor, which costs and expense should not be entered into except for those cases that are obvious and serious in nature. You know, I remember one time Tim Mercer reported back that he thought somebody's garden over in Westbrook Park was encroaching on park property, and we told Mercer to mow it down. But he knocked on the door and hadn't. But anyway, continuing, it says, and if so, will the board support an effort by city staff to inventory all property, identify encroachments, and then provide notice to offending property owners? My response, and you guys weigh in if you want to, depends upon the nature of the encroachment and the serious nature of the encroachment. Some encroachments may not be worth the trouble, expense, and political capital to evict the encroachment. I know that city council has to be elected, and they sure don't want to go ahead and have adjoining park board neighbors all ticked off because their gardens were tilled over. I don't know if you guys have any other comments on that.
I think that's very reasonable.
Number 5, are there any written policies in place whereby park staff is required to notify the board when encroachments have occurred? No. 6, is staff routinely trained on all policies, city policies, including customer service, harassment, ethics, and other personnel matters? I talked to Tom Thunderbird about that, and he says that they are trained on those things. How often and to what extent, I'm not sure.
And I would recommend yearly ethics training.
Okay. All right. I can certainly put that in the response. Number 7, after answering the above questions, does it remain the board's recommendation to declare this property as surplus? And if so, is there a desire to expand the recommendation to include the entire area between partial in-lot 8670 and in-lot 11322? 2 facets to that question. Do we still consider it as surplus property and request city council to move accordingly? My position is yes. What do you guys believe?
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question is there, last part of that question, is there a desire to expand the recommendation to include the entire area between the 2 in-lots? We take a look at these on a case-by-case basis. And I don't think we need to expand the area. If we try to expand the area, we may not get a buyer for it. We've already experienced that in Amelia Park over in Meadow Point, that we've tried to go ahead and get those owners to buy the property back there, which we have deemed surplus for a number of years, and to no avail. We understand there might be a issue with a neighbor of Mr. Carnum's that may want to go ahead and follow this same surplus recommendation, but we'll see. Things might happen. The shed might burn down if that's what the encroachment is. She may move it, who knows?
Jeremy, I have a question. Is this a problem for your mowing staff to mow around these properties that are like a jigsaw puzzle?
No, so I touched on that when I was at the committee, the council committee meeting that I came to. So we just in order to help facilitate cordial relationships with the abutting homeowners, we've been really lenient on where there's kind of fuzzed property lines and where they stop mowing and where we start mowing. And typically on these encroachments, they're mowing out to and beyond whatever the encroachment might be. I also touched on the fact that when we first took over Nottingham, or that extension, which is now all part of Archer Park, we never finish mowed that. That was allowed to grow up 2 and 3 feet tall, and then we would go in there and bush hog that. So that led to homeowners mowing further and further out onto park property as well. So, and that goes years and years back when Nottingham was first being developed. Nottingham and the original Archer Park was actually divided by a tree line that ran under the power line easement that runs through there. So we didn't mow that back portion, and that kind of helped lead to all this. So, but no, it doesn't create an issue, and the homeowners have been, they mow out to and beyond those. And, we just mow right up to wherever they stop is what we've done up till now.
And it doesn't make it severely difficult to mow?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, Susan, Jordan? Any other comments? With your permission, I'll respond to Mr. Schilling, the chairman of the Park and Rec Committee of Council, concerning these responses to their questions, and take it from there. Now, I will do so today or tomorrow. Anything else to come before the commission? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you for your non-attendance. Okay, take care.